In motor racing, you can say without doubt that the contribution of Colin Chapman changed and influenced the face of Formula One for over 15 years. Amongst his innovations, such as ground effect and monocoques, he realized the potential of small, lightweight cars with a high power-to-weight ratio. This was demonstrated in the Lotus 6s, 7s, 11s, and later the Europas and Elans that Lotus produced in the 70s. Perhaps the greatest demonstration of this concept was in 1965, when Jim Clark won at Indianapolis in a Lotus half the size of his competitors' cars. But it was 8 years earlier, in '57, that the first Lotus 7s appeared. Their space frame chassis and aluminium bodies were built alongside the Lotus Formula One frames at Arch Motors in Cambridge. And now, over 30 years on, the tradition continues. Arch Motors still hand-build over 80 chassis a month for Caterham cars. However, nothing stands still in motor racing. Research and development is continually making cars faster and safer. On the track, lap records fall year after year in every formula because of the advances in technology. These advances are then progressively incorporated into road cars. Through the Caterham Race Series, the development of the Super 7 continues. For instance, aluminium honeycomb panels were first used by Alex Hawkridge of Tolman in 1988. They're now standard on all production 7s. The safety benefit being their incredible strength. But it's not always been that straightforward. In the early 80s, Lotus were banned from competing with their new and controversial Lotus 88. That was, of course, the car with 2 chassis. The car was banned in the Californian Grand Prix and then allowed to run, only to be banned again weeks later in Argentina. Chapman himself had no doubt that much of the pressure for the ban came from his competitors, worried that, again, they would have to follow a trend set by Lotus. After the final ban, Chapman stormed out of the pits and sent a letter to FISA explaining that he was fed up with events over the last few weeks and was flying home to watch the launch of the space shuttle to refresh his mind. And Caterham too had their problems when in 1976 the RAC banned the 7 from racing because, almost unbelievably, it was too fast. Caterham could only solve this problem by launching a race series exclusively for 7s. The development department at Caterham have modernized suspension systems to make use of modern tire technology. They've strengthened chassis and made engine and gearbox changes to keep the performance and handling of the 7 way ahead of its rivals. Externally, the dimensions of the 7 have remained unaltered for over 30 years, but inside, the performance of the car has almost doubled. Acceleration is on a par with the Ferrari Testarossa, and it's not advisable to try outbraking a 7. For this reason, Caterham provide a high-performance driving course for the Vauxhall HPC car, a trend now being followed by other manufacturers. The figures are impressive enough. The Caterham Vauxhall takes under 5 seconds to reach 60, passes 100 in 13 seconds, and pulls almost 2G in corners. And it puts all this into great effect on the road.
And this is the Caterham HPC at the Millbrook Proving Ground, which is, of course, a test circuit, but it is a road circuit and it is designed to simulate road conditions. So here we go, downhill, left-hander, second gear. Now here how quickly the engine revs build up as it accelerates away. In fact, it's a 2-litre 16-valve Vauxhall engine that is powering the HPC along with 175 horsepower, pushing a mere 580 kilos. And that's a power-to-weight ratio that compares very favourably with some of your much more expensive and exotic sports cars, and they don't give you the same impression of being in a real racing car. Watch that front suspension move. You have a view of the front wheel that you only get otherwise in single-seater racing cars. It also has Deal semi-independent rear suspension, and that takes away one of the faults of the old early 7s, which was its solid reaction, which tended to skittishness and jump about a bit, but this is now independent, or semi-independent. Wider tyres have been added, and the camber and caster angles have been changed to accommodate that and the improved grip that you get. Also, greater stability at high speed, and with those factors that, of course, improves the overall safety of the car. grip factors, the chassis has been much stiffened up. It's now some 3 times as stiff as the original Lotus 7 chassis. So finally, powering round the circuit, a lot of second and third gear. And now to Brands Hatch, and this is a real race. For road-going 7s, it's a Class B race. They have about 160 horsepower, and we're on the Indy circuit, the short circuit at Brands. Now, dropping down out of Paddock Bend, our intrepid camera car driver has just passed somebody around his outside, and looks like he's held that position. Druids Corner, second gear, accelerating up into third, and then down bottom bend, something like 95 miles an hour on the exit as he slips it into fourth. Into fourth, now back down to third maybe for the S's. And then onto the brakes for Clearways Corner, which will be taken in second or third, but our man has stayed in third. And it sounded a little bit chuggy, the engine on the apex of the corner. And then along the top straight, and believe it or not, this very short straight, the car reaches a staggering 125 miles an hour. Braking for Paddock Bend, the road falls away, you hear the tyres squealing. Remember, these are road tyres, and most of the drivers have driven their cars here, including our man in this car, and will, damage permitting, after the race, be driving it home again. And probably seems to be behaving pretty well, back down through bottom bend. You can see just how direct the steering is there, and watch the suspension move up and down on the front wheels, and this is what gives it really the impression of being very like a real single-seater racing car. Once again, our intrepid man, no, he still likes third around, and if you watch the cars ahead of him, they've just got the drop on the acceleration there, and believe me, they're still going pretty quickly. And as we cross the line, a 52-second lap.
But it's not only racing drivers that get to lap Brands Hatch. The 7 Owners Club has worldwide membership, and they meet regularly at circuits throughout Europe. The 7 has been the starting point for many famous drivers. Graham Hill first raced in a Lotus 7, as did Derek Bell. And in France, 5 times Le Mans winner Henri Pescarolo competed in the first ever 7 Series in the late 60s. And now both Jacques Lafitte and Jean-Paul Beltoise's sons compete in the current French Caterham series. One of the club's largest meetings this year was at Brands, where there were almost 187s on the circuit. The parade was led by a Lotus 7 Series 1, and a limited edition prisoner car, KAR 120C, one of the most famous registration numbers in the world. To millions, it only means one thing: the prisoner. Indeed, the opening sequence of the series soon became so well known that Jules Holland used it in a famous spoof of the original program.
Come back, no! No, I'm on the back rope, is it? Please, no!
And the star of the series, Patrick McGowan, recently made his first trip back to Britain since the series to launch the new limited edition prisoner car.
5 years ago, there was a television series called The Prisoner. Performing the best supporting role had to go for a motor car called the Lotus 7, with which I was involved, which has now become the Caterham Super 7, with which I'm very much involved. The actual star of that series was, of course, Patrick McGowan, who has endorsed this limited edition car that you see here, but he insisted that he has a car for himself, And would you believe the chassis number has to be number 6? So Patrick, I'm not going to say any more, except it's great to see you back. Can I give you the keys to the car?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Graham. Thank you. That brings back many happy memories. Well, to get out. I only just got in. Only just made it. There's a few more years of it. Just downhill, I was just telling Graham, I felt quite emotional when I saw it because it brought back a lot of heavy involvement, as they say. It really did. And it's the exact right car. Now that I see it again, it's the exact right car for the prisoner because it still has that sort of that feeling of the maverick about it, you know? Little touch of rebelliousness.
Did you ever think that the show would become a sort of cult thing?
No idea.
It's very much a cult.
No idea.
Patrick McGowan and Graham Nairn first met over 20 years ago when McGowan insisted that he should drive a 7 in the original series.
I think we might just put it in another series.
Another one?
Might just do that.
Are you serious?
Absolutely seriously, yeah.
Well, of the prisoners?
No. It's something which I'm developing, which is you would know it's related to the prisoner in a distant way, but it's an extension of the concept. And I think it might be rather intriguing to have the same car carry over.
Also at the Birmingham NEC was the new Caterham Vauxhall race car, developed directly from the HPC Vauxhall road car, which replaces the BDR Cosworth models. It's reckoned to be one of the fastest one-make series in Europe. On slick tyres and in lightweight form, they offer a level of performance well beyond the road-going car. But the Super 7s you see on the road are made to exactly the same specification as the cars on the racetrack. A unique status for a unique car, and truly befitting its conception as Colin Chapman's original, legendary 7.